Morning to everybody out there. Great to have you with us here today, and great to be with you here talking about the future of cloud managed access control. My name is Tony Alexander, and I'm joined by Mike Maxenti from Genea. I'm with Convergint Technologies in our digital transformation team, and I'm a business development manager. Mike manages the channel partnerships and business development activities for Genea. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of access control, cloud access control, and managed access control. Mike is going to be kind enough to give us an overview of Genea and also a demo of that platform. We will take questions, and if you notice at the bottom of your Zoom window, there is a Q&A button. If you want to set or put any Q&A questions into that chat function, we will be happy to answer them towards the end of the conversation here today. Really excited to be with you to kick us off here. Mike, you want to go to the next slide? You can, yeah. So the world around us is changing. Technology is changing. We have a lot of new, really exciting technology that is being developed every day all around us, from IoT and intelligent edge devices to cloud, to big data, to AI and insights and analytics. But all of those technology changes and technology in general can be very complicated. And Mike, if you want to hit the next slide. What Convergint does is Convergint simplifies all of that complexity down. We extract all the complexity and we make it simple to understand, simple to deploy, simple to manage and maintain. And we do that by approaching all of these conversations as a managed service offering. With that all said, as kind of laying the groundwork, I'd like to hand it off to Mike now to give you an overview of Genea.
Thanks, Tony, and we'll get better at the slide transitions for the next one. Thanks for the introduction, and nice to be joining you today. As Tony said, I am the Director of Strategic Accounts here at Genea. I'm also the co-founder of the Access Control product. So I should have enough background to take you guys through what we do, and to get you familiar with who Genea is and who we serve. Genea is a global access control system that is really designed to unify all of your disparate sites, wherever they may be, into one centralized cloud-based system. And we do this for companies in over 26 countries today, including names such as Shopify, Xero, Outreach, a lot of great enterprise customers. Plus, we also work heavily in the commercial real estate industry. So, to give you some examples of how Genea and Convergint have been able to help customers, we have 3 examples for you. So the first one is Shopify. With Shopify, we did a 15-site global conversion in 3 countries, so Canada, United States, and Germany. There's about 15,000 Shoppa folk, as they call them, on the Genea platform today, and Convergint has been the global integrator. So that's one of the great things about Convergint, right? Is that you can have a global system for all your offices, but you can also have a global integrator to do those deployments and manage the systems. Another cool thing about Shopify is that they have both an exact vision camera system and their Okta IDM connected to Genea and through our direct integrations, which we'll talk about in a few slides. Last but not least with Shopify is that their company has gone 99% mobile through an employee engagement app. And so they have one app that they can book conference rooms, order lunch, and have as their digital key for employees. So it's a really great experience. It's a really cool project for us to work on together. The next one is iHeartMedia. So with iHeartMedia, we have 37 sites active across the country today, and there's 50 more coming. So a total of 87 sites with iHeartMedia by probably beginning of next year. And again, it speaks to both the scalability of Genea as an access control platform, but also the global presence that Convergint brings. And when you pair those two things together, you can really transform and automate your physical security management, saving time and cost. So iHeart's another great example. And then last, but certainly not least, and this one has a really cool element to it, that's Jamf. So Jamf is another, multinational company with sites in South America and Asia, as well as North America. And the really exciting part about Jamf is that this is going to be the first ever, or it already is actually the first ever customer using Apple Wallet-based credentials with Genea Access Control. And so we're really excited to be one of the initial launch partners with Apple and this new wave of mobile credentials inside of the wallet. For those of you that watched WWDC yesterday, that's one of the big initiatives that they announced is, opening up the Apple Wallet beyond just your credit card and now into things like your driver's license, your physical access card, your Metro Transit card as well. So it's a really exciting time in access. And of course, Jamf is, like every other modern company, they're using Okta to automate user provisioning through Genea. And then they're using both Milestone and Cisco Meraki camera VMSs within Genea. So those are some examples, kind of help you think of why this partnership with Genea and Convergint is so helpful for enterprise customers. But there's also broader changes within the industry that I think are important to highlight. So one is based on recent survey data, a lot of customers are switching the management and the purchasing of their physical security systems to IT. Whereas traditionally this was owned by a physical security team, more and more because of the nature of the systems, IT is taking over the evaluation, purchasing, and management of the physical access control systems. So with that shift, there's a few new dynamics, right? One is we want to make the administration of physical access control either completely automated or as easy as possible. That's a huge factor in evaluation and purchasing. Two is they want to, with new systems, they want to access new features and integrations. If you're going to go from an on-prem server-based system into a cloud-based one, there should be a host of new features and possibilities that come along with that transition. And of course, Genea makes that possible. And then last but not least is due to the changing nature of work and the global pandemic, there are new dynamics within access control, such as touchless entry. So using your phone as a credential, not having to touch a door or a physical key card on a reader is a big one. But also because everyone has, some of us are remote and coming into offices only a couple of times a week. The need for a mobile credential has gotten even greater, because if the IT team isn't physically on site, but you need to be, they can just send you a digital key and you can get access without anyone having to hand you a physical card. So there are all these different requirements now for how to provision access and how access is granted into corporate facilities. And we're going to kind of touch on how Genea solves for all of these new dynamics in the coming slides, and then when we get into the demo. So first things first, right, is what is Genea, right? So obviously Genea is an access control system, but it's so much more. When we were building this product, we wanted to create a single cloud-based user interface for the three main pieces of the physical security infrastructure, right? Number one is access control. Two is we wanted to build in and integrate video as much as possible. So we have a host of different VMS integrations, like I mentioned, Milestone, Cisco Meraki, ExactVision, that allow you to have a single pane of glass in the cloud for access control and cameras. And then last but not least is visitor management. So we have our own visitor management product that allows you to issue guest, QR codes and surveys and sign documents before they ever show up on site. But of course, we integrate with other third-party systems like ProxyClick and Envoy if you already have a pre-existing visitor management system. So you can get, again, one cloud-based system to manage all three elements. But last, or most importantly, is that we wanted to change the paradigm for how service and support was offered by an access control system. So when we launched, we went around and kind of talked to enterprise customers and said, hey, what is your biggest frustration with your access control systems? And surprisingly, it was not the product itself, it was how hard it was to get support. And so immediately we knew that we had to rethink how it was done. And instead of forcing customers to go through this daisy chain of support, we provide direct 24/7 live chat, phone, and email support to all users of the Genia product. And so this does two things, right? One is the support response times are cut by 90%. Instead of waiting days or weeks to get an issue resolved through a traditional on-prem access control system, we can resolve an issue directly with you in a matter of minutes. Things like updating schedules, checking panel configurations, all that stuff can happen directly within the Genia live chat system. And then also it reduces the total cost of ownership for customers, because rather than having to waste a lot of time and human resources troubleshooting issues physically on site, our team can at least do most of the troubleshooting before anyone has to go out and take a look at hardware. So you get a better user experience, you save money, and everyone's happier for it. And again, this is because it's cloud-based, it applies to all your global offices and facilities. So another key thing, right, is, and we touched on this in the intro slides, is integration. So a lot of customers need to have user provisioning automated through a system like Active Directory or Okta. And with traditional access control systems, and even some of the newer cloud-based ones, you still have to pay for professional services to get them set up, which can take, obviously not free, it's expensive, but then it takes weeks or months to get an Active Directory integration set up and configured to do the job. Whereas with Genia, you can set up an Active Directory or an Okta integration in a matter of minutes, and we'll walk you through how that works in a few seconds when we get to the product. But not only is the setup easy, but it's free. You don't have to pay for an extra enterprise license to get access to these integrations. We believe that these integrations are the standard for the modern IT stack. So why not just integrate them and offer them out of the box? And that's what we've done. And the same goes for SSO, right? So there's a blacklist out there of companies that try to charge for single sign-on integrations. We certainly didn't want to be on that list. So we have SAML 2.0 and OAuth built right into the Genia platform, and again, available for free. In fact, every integration that you see in today's demonstration is included with Genia out of the box. So that also extends to our camera integrations. We have integrations with Cisco Meraki, Tyco, Eagle Eye, Milestone, Rhombus, ExactVision, and we are on the cusp of releasing an integration with Ava and Visualon. Those will be the next two in the coming weeks and months. So we try to release a new camera integration about every 6 to 8 weeks. So if you don't see it there, just let us know. We'll make sure that we get you taken care of. And then last but not least is notifications, right? So we can integrate with your Slack or your Teams instance to send you notifications and alerts from your access control system directly into Slack and Teams, so that you don't have to constantly be looking at your activity logs or your email to see if there's a door forced alarm or someone trying to badge into a door they don't have access to. Now, we've taken integration to the next level as well when it comes to mobile access. So a lot of companies are interested in mobile access, but they might be using a Linnell system today, and then they want to bolt on HID mobile. Well, the problem is when you do that is it adds about 9 steps to both the administrative process as well as the end user enrollment process. So that's obviously untenable if you have thousands of employees. It needs to be as close to a one-step process as possible, and that's what we've done. So inside of Genia, you can get a brand new HID mobile key or a wavelengths key with one click, or even no click. If you're using our Okta integration, you can have a user provision from Okta into Genea with all their access rights, and then we'll send them a mobile key at the same time. So if you're using an AD or Okta integration to automate user provisioning plus mobile, you can completely automate the provisioning and deprovisioning process, including with mobile. The other thing that you get a lot with the traditional infrastructure is that you have to have a separately managed HID or Rego contract with HID. But with Genea, we include your HID or Rego license fees within the licensing structure of Genea. So you don't have to pay per key and manage a separate contract with HID. We keep it simple and we wrap it all into your one contract with Genea. So, and then the other consideration, right, is if you're going to adopt mobile, right, how does that impact your security stance? Well, we believe that mobile is a much more secure platform than most physical credentials out there today. First things first is, physical cards can be shared, right? I can give my card to another person and they can just go badge into a door, but I'm definitely not going to give them my phone. So there's a social protection aspect to mobile access where it's not as easily shareable. If you lose it, you certainly know it because we basically can't function anymore without these things. And so, the second you lose it and you can get, if you can get in contact with the system admin, they can remove your access. The other thing that mobile allows you to do is layer on two-factor authentication. So where, a physical card, it has no idea who's actually using it. With a mobile phone, you can say, all right, this mobile key will not work unless it's unlocked through facial ID or a PIN code or your fingerprint, depending on what kind of phone you have. So all that two-factor authentication on top of the credential is only possible with a mobile device like a smartphone today. So huge security impacts. Now, of course, there are compliance issues where if you are mandated to have a physical badge displayed, that's obviously not going to be an option. But we think that mobile is a lot more secure than physical cards. So as we mentioned, right, Genea also comes along with 24/7 support. So gone are the days of waiting days or weeks to get an answer and resolution to simple software issues. With Genea, you'll have a direct 24/7 support team. And then if there is a physical issue on site, we work hand in hand with the Convergint team to dispatch a technician and get that issue resolved quickly and effectively. But most of the time, we're able to troubleshoot those issues remotely and save you, the cost of having a technician come out on site and changing a schedule on a door or something like that, something that can easily be done through the software remotely. So that's another key aspect of the Genea solution. And last but not least is because all of what we've discussed today is built on top of the MARQUEE hardware system, we can update legacy access control systems without ripping or replacing all your hardware. So if you're using Genetec, Winell, Avigilon, right, any of the logos that you see on this screen, these are MARQUEE-based systems, and in some cases, HID Vertex-based systems that can be upgraded to Genea without changing any controllers. So that's a massive savings upfront to get your entire access control system upgraded from that legacy server-based one to a brand new cloud-based one with all the features and functionality that we just went through. So with all that said, it's time to get into the product demonstration, and let's switch my screen here. Okay. All right. So this is the Genea user interface. Now, what we're looking at here on the left-hand side is the web application. On the right-hand side is the mobile application. On the left-hand side in the web app, when you have a multi-site enterprise, we combine all of the alarms and the hardware status and the attendance data into one global dashboard, which is what we're looking at here. And we'll get into the specific site dashboards in a second. But I want to highlight this because a lot of the people on this call today are in that multi-site enterprise scenario. So your security operators will have one, easy login to see all alarms, right? You can see all the alarms across all the sites. You can see what the event description is. And another great thing about this is if you have different VMS providers in different locations, we can still syndicate those video links within the central dashboard. So this event here is tied to an Eagle Eye door at the Phoenix office. So to see that event, all I have to do is click the event link and it will stream that video from the Eagle Eye VMS server straight into the Genea dashboard. Now, for those of you that are bandwidth conscious, right, this only happens the second you click that link. There is no streaming outside of of your network until that link is clicked. So it's not going to tax your bandwidth unnecessarily. Now, this other office here in LA has a Rhombus system, and I can select that camera link. And again, we're going to get a Rhombus video player inside of the Genea dashboard. So it's all nice and contained within the single dashboard here. Again, different VMSs, same activity log. And then once you reviewed those events, you can then hit acknowledge, input any notes like false alarm, and then acknowledge. And now you'll have a running list of any acknowledged alarms right here. That's of course searchable and exportable if you need to create any reports around that. The other great thing about this global dashboard is it allows you to do user provisioning across multiple sites right from the same screen. So if I want to add a single user, let's say we want to hire Pam Beasley, and Pam is going to go into 3 different offices at the same time. So we're going to say she's going to go to Chicago, LA, and New York. I'm going to set the access group in each location for this person. And now that user record has been distributed to all 3 sites. And so whenever we give them a credential, whether physical or mobile, they'll automatically work across those 3 sites. So speaking of credentialing, right, to give a new user a mobile key, all we have to do is come in here, select a mobile key, identify the badge type, and then hit save. And now they're going to get a brand new HID mobile key delivered straight to their mobile app. And on the right-hand side of the screen, this is the application that it comes into. So one of the great things about Genea is not only do you have all the backend provisioning APIs built into Genea, but you then have, it gets delivered into our mobile app. And so if you're using single sign-on, all the employee has to do is download the Genea app, log in through their SSO, and then the key will be waiting for them in the application. So it cuts out like 9 steps, or actually 8 steps from the process that you would have to go through with other systems and the HID mobile app. So it's just a lot easier to use mobile access within the Genea ecosystem. Now, there's other features and functionality that we can touch on here in the mobile app real quick. So I touched on user provisioning in the global dashboard. You can also do user management right here inside of the web app, or sorry, the mobile app, if you're a system admin. So I can add a new user. I can, of course, remove a user or give them a new credential right here. I can remotely unlock doors. So if you're not on site, but someone needs to get access to the door, I can just slide the lock over and unlock the door. Again, this is limited to administrative users only. There's also emergency lockdown functions here. So we can create new lockdowns, add them in, and then they'll be available on the mobile app. And then last but not least is you can do your visitor invitations through the mobile app. So I'll return to the mobile app as we go through different features in the demonstration, but let's keep moving. So I've touched on the manual user provisioning process, how to give a key manually to someone, but the magic really comes when you can automate that process. So if we come down to a location dashboard, right, we'll see, okay, here's the attendance over time, here's today's attendance at this site. But then if we come to the integrations tab, this opens up the whole world of integration and automation within Genea. So user provisioning automation, if you're doing Azure or Okta, is super easy to set up. So within Azure AD, all we have to do is copy this API token, go to the Azure Marketplace, search for Genea, and then paste the token into the provisioning section. And that will link your Azure AD system to Genea. Once that linkage has been created, then all we have to do is set up rules for how users come from different OUs or groups inside of Azure into sites and access groups within Genea. So here in Chicago, right, we've set up this rule engine right here. Delete that rule real quick. So within this rule, you can see conditions groups includes operations team, city equals Chicago. If the user matches those two conditions in Azure, they're going to be added into employee and server room access in this site and be issued a mobile key. So again, that'll take a user within that group in Azure AD, put them into Genea, and assign them a mobile key with the correct access permissions without you lifting a finger. And creating these rules is super easy. So you just come in here, give it a name, and then add in a couple of conditions. There's no limit to those conditions here. You'll be able to search through the groups inside of Azure here. So I can say Irvine office group and security, and then assign the access groups that would be provided to that individual. And we're going to give them a mobile key, right? And so now you've got your brand new user provisioning rule. So what we do is when we're doing these migrations, we'll have a couple sessions with the IT team to go through and structure those rules and help them think through the process a bit. But as you can see, it's very easy to set that up within the Genea dashboard. So moving on, we also have the Slack and the Microsoft Teams integration. So if your organization is using Slack, you can set up different alerts to come into Slack and then customize the channel here. And then each location can have its own set of Slack notifications going into distinct Slack channels, so that the Chicago door force alarms only go to people who need to be monitoring security alerts for Chicago, New York, around the world, et cetera. And then it's very easy to say which alerts you want to receive and which you do not want to. So setting up the Slack integration is very easy. Setting up a camera integration is similarly straightforward, especially with cloud-based ones. So if if you have an Eagle Eye camera system, all you have to do is use an administrator login and then link the cameras to the doors in Genea. And then once you've done this linkage, we already touched on one thing in the global dashboard. You also get the same thing in the site-specific dashboard. So if you come to the activity logs, you'll be able to see, I got to switch sites here to show that one. You'll be able to see the events right here, and then select that event link, and it will stream it into Genea right here. And then the other cool feature that you get is we have the ability to set up a camera wall within the Genea dashboard. So this is drag and drop. I can customize my view however I need to right here. And then it will show me all of those live feeds right within the Genea dashboard. So I don't have to have two browser screens open to see the Eagle Eye system and Genea. I can have that within the Genea dashboard here. So very easy to set up that camera wall. And I hope what you're gathering as we go through the presentation is just how straightforward it is to set up all these integrations and manage them. So that touches on cameras, communication, right? And then the last but not least is having the ability to build your own. So again, we're a cloud-based system. We have a publicly available API. So if your team needs to set up a Splunk integration for a data lake, well, you can just grab our API, and then they can run queries against the API or set up provisioning automations. Or I've seen it where an organization has ServiceNow adding and removing access groups temporarily to data centers, right? We've got some very cool use cases out there. And then the other option is webhooks, right? So if you're just looking for us to stream you all the events from Genea to a webhook, you have that availability right here. So just hit manage, and then you can create a new endpoint right here. The idea is to make integration extremely simple, and that speaks to, if you're going to the cloud-based system, having that whole new world of features and functionality available to you. So a few last things I want to touch on are reporting automation. So if we come to the global dashboard, if you come to this report section here, you can set up fully automated reports. So if you want to get a report for all 4 offices sent to the HR team on a weekly basis, all we have to do is come in here to the activity report. Let me create this rule from scratch. So we'll see that this is a default report. I can then create a schedule for it and say, we're going to send this to the HR team. And of course, you can do multiple. So I can send it to myself as well. So we'll create this distribution list, and then I'm going to send this on a weekly basis every Sunday at, let's call it 5 a.m. So now I don't have to worry about going into Genea, creating the report, downloading it, emailing it to the HR team. I can grab all 4 attendance reports into a syndicated or one centralized report and have it automatically sent from Genea to the HR team on a weekly basis. So set it and forget it. That's our global reporting feature. And then, of course, we also have badge printing. So if you're doing different types of badge templates, you can then also, we have a WYSIWYG designer that allows you to create different create different layouts for your badges depending on the badge type, and do your badge printing again through the cloud-based interface. So that is the quick overview of the Genea platform. And before I kind of open it up to general questions, I do want to touch on support. So unlike, basically every other access control system out there today, we take a radically different approach and offer that direct support to all of our users, right? Not just system admins, but all of the card holders in the system that may have an issue. So what they can do is just open up a live chat with us here, or they can call us. We have a 24/7 hotline, or you can, of course, send us an email. And then we also have a great help center. So if you're wondering how to set up a door schedule, all I have to do is search door schedule, and then it'll bring up that help article from our library of support articles and give you a step-by-step guide on how to configure a door schedule. So that is Genea and our support system. So I'm going to open it up to questions here. I see there's a few in the Q&A. So
yeah.
First
hey,
question.
Mike, so first question comes from Eli, and Eli asks, how is Genea different from Phoenix, Blue Box, Brevo, and other cloud-centric access control systems?
Sure. So yeah, Eli, you're correct, right? Those are all cloud-based access control systems built on MARQUEE. The differentiation between each of them is different, but let's take Phoenix as an example. If you want to roll out mobile access for your company and you're using Phoenix and you're using Okta, right? Well, this may or may not be true today, but my most recent recollection is that Phoenix doesn't have an Okta integration. So that's one big piece where we can set up that direct Okta integration to automate user provisioning. And then we have the direct HID mobile access integration as well through our backend, as well as our mobile app. And so that's a big piece versus a system like Phoenix. Blue Box has a whole host of issues, including just like core stability of their platform recently and some other things that we've seen. So, there's different use cases and examples that I can provide in terms of why a customer would want to switch from one cloud-based ACS to Genea. But I think mobile access, direct integration, all the integrations with the camera systems that we touched on, the identity management systems are another big one. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and Eli, happy to follow up with you as well if you've got additional questions on kind of what the differences look like across those various different platforms. Would be happy to send you a note if you'd be willing to reach out to me. Next question comes from Anisha. She asks, are the integration rules only for people, or are they also for devices and doors as well? Thinking she's referring to the connections to Okta and then the other various systems as well, Mike.
Yeah. So I think if I understand this question, well, as you saw when I was creating the rule, not only does it just take a user record from the identity management system and then add that into Genea, but it also will assign them the access groups. So you can say if someone is part of the HR team in Chicago, then they will get the HR room access in the Chicago office. So it will provision access to doors, and it can also send them a mobile key at the same time. So that would then extend to the device for that individual. So I hope I understood that question properly, but yes, the rules can extend to the both physical access to doors as well as activating a key on their mobile app.
All right, next question comes from S. Weber. Says amazing technology and ideology. They have a question. How do you set firewalls, and how do we ensure that the system cannot be breached from a cyber perspective? You want to talk a little bit about the cyber side
Sure.
Of this conversation, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course we're a security company. So security is the heart of everything that we do. First things first is I believe you're talking about your internal network firewalls. So the controller connections are only established through an outbound TCP/IP connection using TLS 1.2. So it's an encrypted connection. It's outbound. So you don't have to change any of your inbound firewall settings, and you can whitelist both the internal and external IP to basically lock in that channel of communication. And then the data packets that are sent back and forth are encrypted over TLS. So that's sort of like the controller to cloud server connection. And then within our cloud infrastructure, right, we have extremely robust firewalls and security protocols. All the data in transit's encrypted at TLS 1.2 or greater. If it's within our own network, we can get to 1.3, and then all the data at rest is using a 256 AES encryption. So extremely secure, and then we're also SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. So we have SOC 2 cert, and we can send that to any prospect or customer that may need to review how we ensure the security of our platform. So yeah, obviously security is a very core piece of what we do.
So I'll also add a little bit on top of that as well. We do provide, as baked into our managed services contracts, cybersecurity services and cyber hygiene services. So although we may be, let's say, taking over a MARQUEE-based platform system, those MARQUEE panels do have some, I'll say, vulnerabilities. So evaluating those panels from a physical perspective, there's some dip switch settings kind of into the details, right? That can open you up for some attacks where a panel may reset to the default password if it loses connection to the comm server. Obviously, that's not a good thing to have anything default back to the default password. So there's a couple things that we do as baked into our contracts to make sure that we're completely cyber secure. Hopefully that answers your question, Mr. or Mrs. S. Weber, or Miss.
I think you covered all your bases there.
Trying to.
Any other questions from the attendees today?
Mike, you want to flip over to the kind of takeaways slide here?
Yeah, and just real quick to answer Mike Washington's question. Yeah, this recording, this will be recorded and available to both all the attendees as well as those who didn't have the chance to attend. So I believe you'll get a follow-up email with a link to the recording a few minutes after we wrap up here today. So with that said, Tony, yes, I will switch back over to just the PowerPoint presentation. Give me a second here. All right. There we go. All right.
All right. So as you know, you can reach out to me anytime. My information there and contact information is there. You will receive an email follow-up with a link to the recorded version of this webinar that you can share with others. And then if you have any questions or additional follow-up that you would like, scan the QR code here on the screen. That'll drive you to a form where you can request some follow-up action, or as always, reach out directly to me and I'll point you in the right direction and get you follow-up as well. Really appreciate everybody's time and being on this webinar with us. Really enjoyed the time. And Mike, thanks to you and your team for putting this together and supporting this. So everybody have a wonderful and safe day.